Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Yearbook News. This is our final episode of this series that we've been doing on our instructional guides. So if Lucy and Sarah could just give a quick hello, that would be wonderful.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. And as always, we'll go ahead and kick off this wonderful podcast with Sarah just sharing some updates about everything that's been going on here at United Yearbook.
Sure. We're just so excited. This is our final summer podcast. And of course, throughout the school year, we're going to have more podcasts so that we can bring you the latest yearbook news and also resource to our yearbook community. While today's the latest update, just to announce to all the institution, whether you are from high school or university, United Yearbook is going to have this certification for completion of our yearbook classes. So whether you are high school or a university, make sure that you visit the website to learn more about how your students can earn credit, from our program. And another update is just a reminder, our on-time delivery has been 100% for the past years. So we use a buffer system, which means that for every delivery deadline schedule that we provide to you, we always, add the extra days, in case if there are last minute changes or event, with our tracker or carrier. Since especially we deliver our yearbook around the world, we want to make sure to have that extra days, we call the buffer, to deliver on time as always. So just want to give you the 2 update as a reminder, before we kick off an exciting new school year. And I'm going to give the floor back to Jessica.
Thank you so much, Sarah. These are exciting updates. Like Sarah said, you can also leave a comment if you have any questions down below, but I'll also leave the links for our website, so you can check that out directly there. But yeah, so as you can see, there's been a lot of exciting things happening at United Yearbook, as there always is. And if you haven't already, you can also subscribe to our newsletter. We'll keep you updated there as well. I'll add that link down below. But now I want to hand it over to our guest of honor, our wonderful Lucy, who has just been able to walk us through the instructional guides these past few weeks. So Lucy, you have walked us through so many different topics. You've walked us through student leadership, you've gone over mission and vision statement, you've talked about organization, you've talked about so many different things. And I know this is going to be our last podcast episode on this specific topic. Maybe there'll be some more in the future, we'll see. But what would be one kind of last topic that you would suggest for advisors to learn about, or that they would be able to gain insight about from our instructional guides?
Well, our instructional guides are designed to take the classroom teacher through the first 9 weeks of school. And so all the information that is shared within those instructional guides cover everything that the classroom teacher or the advisor would need to share with their students. So after they have talked about digital citizenship, after they have talked about the freedom of the press and the freedom of speech, after they have worked with their students with their understanding about exactly what a yearbook is and does, and why they are committed to creating a yearbook for their school and what that will look like through their mission statement and their vision statement. And after they have gone through the process of understanding what it means to cover events and to organize themselves into that kind of process and to create the calendar for the coverage of those events. And after they have created the organization for all photographs so that they have that, you are left with the meat of the book. So from whenever that moment in time comes for that teacher and that class, to the end of the first 9 weeks, there are these kinds of topics to cover. The cover case, the end sheets, the design of the book, whether it will be a traditional book or whether it will be a chronological book, or maybe it will be an artful book that has its own kind of design, what kind of page spreads are going to be necessary. So teaching layout and design is going to be necessary. So a lot of information then comes into play. Not and not to forget that it is not just a picture book, but it is also a content-driven book with words and story. So teaching kids how to take an event and process it through a lot of different lenses about what makes a good story, and where is the story, and who is involved in the story, and where to grab quotes, and what is a quote, and can I paraphrase and call it a quote, and what exactly is a quote. So we have to be very careful about the kinds of big ideas we share with kids. And it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. And so what I did with my students is break it down as best I could into big ideas. And each one of those topics has big ideas underneath them that I began to share with my students in the very first days of school.
Thank you for sharing that, Lucy. It actually makes me think of something that we're kind of wanting to start showcasing more in some of the content we post on social medias is, pushing out there. Right now we have a lot of, like I mentioned last week, we have like yearbook inspiration, but something that we want to kind of kickstart is showing like, okay, design ideas. So, this yearbook has really great continuity throughout the book. And so there's, one specific book I'm thinking about where it's retro themed, and they use specific color scheme that you see throughout the entire yearbook. And so that's something that I think, as you're saying, that's an important part of the book, right? And I think that being able for us to showcase it in multiple different ways is something that will be helpful for both advisors and students. And like I said, on some of our social media platforms, we're getting a lot of those students' attention. And so being able for them to learn in multiple different ways is always helpful as well, So I think that just made me think about that. But I love you saying also those big ideas. It makes me think that's probably part of how you were able to systemize all of the different topics that you've talked about over the past few weeks. Is there any other kind of process or some kind of piece of advice that you could give to those advisors who are looking at all of these different topics and maybe they are feeling a bit overwhelmed? Maybe they're thinking, okay, this is a lot, how would you say that you would kind of steer them in the right direction and kind of give them that peace of mind as well?
Well, the information that is shared per book takes a little bit from each of those big ideas and has them enfolded into the instructional guide. So in a single instructional guide, you'll have some information that is related to student leadership, and some information that's related to maybe design, and some information that's related to writing captions, and some information that is related to software. So each of the instructional guides has a little bit of something. Each one has a little bit of something from each of those ideas. But what I would suggest is to look at the content that you know that you need to cover. And that does take a little bit of time to address on your own, to take some time to look at what it is that you have to do. And then I would, whatever makes sense to you, always making sure that it makes sense to you, the teacher. You can't teach something that doesn't make sense to you, but you can introduce material and teach what does make sense to you. So for an example, I would start with something that grabs the attention of both the student and the student body, and that's the cover. And the cover is directly related to the theme. And the theme is the overarching idea that's going to saturate the book from cover to cover. So every page within that yearbook is going to be related in some form or fashion to the theme, which is related to the cover. So everything always is interrelated and moving back and forth. And so when you think about the cover, you think about the image, you think about the color palette, you think about the text that you're going to be utilizing, you think about the words that you're going to be utilizing. Now, there are some pretty standard features on a cover and on the spine, but there is a lot in the way of fun that can be brought to the cover and the end sheets that make up the cover case. And we just have so many brilliant customizations that can be offered. And you can talk a little bit more about that, but I would begin there with my students. And then from there, I would launch into another piece of design, which is page spreads. And from page spreads, I would move into, because that's about image placement. And then that's also about the idea of the utilization of the color palette that you have already determined because of the cover case. And so you have your color palette already arranged. You've got your theme already arranged. And so now when you look at the page spreads, you've got all of that information that you can apply. And then once you have the idea of page spreads kind of in the mind of the kids with image placement, you can begin to add text. And so then you can teach about what the written content can be about. So it seems to be a step by step by step by step by step by step kind of expression. So
Yeah, that's exactly what I got from you speaking. It feels like the way that it is laid out is very kind of almost like you're dissecting the book in a sense. You're taking it from the cover and then you're starting to work your way into it. And also you mentioned our innovation and design options. That is something that I could go more on and on about. But yeah, something we love to do is have, innovative designs. We want to see advisors and staff members really come up with just unique and fun ideas. It's something we love to do. And so we've had tons of just really fun yearbooks throughout the years. We've had a surfboard yearbook. We've had like a cassette tape yearbook. We recently had a MacBook yearbook, just all kinds of fun things. And so we like to say, create without limitations. And so we like to hear about that. But yeah, I did have a question going back a little bit when you're talking about covering theme. So when you're laying it out there, would you say, you said to start with the cover, would you say some advisors start with the theme and then build the cover? And what kind of plays into the difference there?
Well, for me, I think that they go hand in hand. They go like this. So if you're going to begin with the cover has to have a theme and it has to have a color palette. And the theme is going to be for the entire book. The color palette is going to be for the entire book. One doesn't exist without the other. So the cover case has to be done first because it has an earlier deadline than the rest of the book. So the interior of the book has a little bit more time, but that cover case has to be complete by the end of October at least. And so that really needs attention. And so however the teacher wants to garner the support of the design of the cover case, and and usually that came in shared decision making. In my class, we had small group discussions and mock-ups and design mock-ups and then presentations and then voting and vetting and all kinds of things in order to gain a narrowing down to singular. And it was usually a combination of ideas, which was always fun. And it's funny too how it can change from year to year, how the cover can be quite fun one year and very elegant the next year, and very simple one year and very complex the next. It's very interesting how that can occur, and how that leads into the interior of the book as well. So I do encourage you to put the link to the customizations in the podcast as well, because the inspiration that kids get, because they do a lot of research. I encourage that. Do a lot of research. Do whatever you can, Pinterest, TikTok, whatever, to find out what other people are doing with their cover cases for their yearbooks. And just enjoy, because you cannot imagine what books are looking like these days. They're so much fun.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, I will put that link down below. And I love when you're talking about the voting and everything. It just feels so collaborative, which is what the yearbook is meant to be, right? It's supposed to be a collaborative effort. And even when you're talking about how much it shifts from year to year, because that also shows, the school culture may somewhat stay the same, but the student body is always evolving, and so maybe one year this is really what they want, this is really what they're into, and so maybe the next year it's going to be something completely different. And so it really does showcase, like, this is for the students, this is by the students. Yes. This is a little time capsule of our year, and this is who we were, class of, now it's going to be 2025, this is who we were, and so I think that that's so fun, and I love you pointing that out, because it is a good reminder, I think, for advisors that, ultimately, this is by the students and for the students, and you're helping kind of navigate them as they're creating this piece of history, right?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, thank you for that reminder. Switching gears a little bit back into kind of the underlying theme for our podcast series, which is the instructional guides. As you've been talking about it, and I'm sure anyone watching has been able to just see how passionate you are about these instructional guides and how helpful they are. What would be, if they could only take away one key thing about our instructional guides, what would you say that is?
The instructional guides are springboards. They are a place, a reservoir of information, a reservoir of opportunity to experiment with different ideas. It is not something that needs to be lockstep. It is something that is based in the benchmarks and standards, enduring understandings, the California enduring understandings. But it is not something that teachers are bound to, because what I like best about the notion of creativity in the classroom, it doesn't exist just for kids. It exists for the teacher as well. And as the teacher is confronted with, just by walking through this world, a conundrum of different kinds of instances or experiences, or just ideas that come toward them that could then be put into the classroom in meaningful ways. I mean, the instructional guides are just that, guides. They're not to replace the teacher and the teacher's experiences. They're just to sort and assist. And I think that if anything, the instructional guides are offer a wealth of resources. And as a teacher, I always found that nothing replaced my ability to research and to get a face-to-face with the information that I wanted to provide my students. And so what the instructional guides do is present that same kind of research. And so that's provided for teachers for their use in a classroom, and the presentations do the exact same kind of thing.
Thank you for pointing that out, and thank you for pointing out the flexibility, because I think that is a huge part of it, and the creativity aspect. I think that it's such a good point, and I think maybe sometimes, at least myself, maybe I don't think about it in the same way, like, oh, this experience that I had, today when I was walking outside, maybe the color green that I saw on the leaves, maybe I could bring that in and share that with someone, and maybe everyone else will love it. Something as simple as that, but there's that creativity aspect, and there's that life experience aspect. And the way that you described it, it is really, we bring our personalities to the table, right? We bring our personal experiences, we bring our understanding, and also advisors know their students best as well,
Exactly.
yeah. And so you'll know what resource is going to best, relate to them. And you'll also understand, this is this learning activity is really going to just be wonderful for them. And so it's something that you can really work alongside them and kind of figure out with them. And so that's something I really admire about the instructional guides.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you could speak just a little bit about the curriculum presentations as well. I don't think we've gone too in depth about them during this series.
The presentations are an effort to take the information, some of the information, not all of the information, but some of the information in the instructional guides, and codify them in a way that is more user-friendly for on-the-go teaching. So I would never teach it without reviewing it first and knowing exactly what is there. But it is a quick, down and dirty kind of way to get that information across to your students in a way that is palatable and a fairly traditional way, methodology of getting that information out to kids. So there are also a kind of a rich I'll use the word again, reservoir of resources added to each of the presentations, so that at the fingertips of every teacher who chooses to use it, there's more information should they choose to go further or in a different direction, so that if they wanted to, it's right there that can lend a little bit of ease of research for them. So the presentations have video clips, they have student learning activities, there are some Quizlets, there are some rubrics that are available for some of the learning activities, so that they could be graded and entered into a grade book. There are some I think some pretty good translatable right into a yearbook assignment, so that if you wanted to utilize the end result as a part of the yearbook, you could. So you would just have to look at the presentations and pick and choose.
And as you said at the beginning, the amount of resources just stuffed into these presentations is incredible. I got to watch so many of the videos and see the activities, and oh my goodness, they were just so fun. They were they're so well put together, and they're also so informative. And they're also very like digestible for students and obviously the advisor. And so like Lucy, you said at the beginning, obviously to review before using them. And that's also another point, that I think is wonderful about them, is that they're customizable as well, so,
Yeah.
Download them. You want to take out a video and add another video in instead, there's just wonderful ways that you can really customize them to the classroom. But yeah, so I appreciate you, sharing about that, because that's just another way that we've been able to use our instructional guides and kind of present them in a different format, because, sometimes, like you said, it's just a different way of presenting this information. And, maybe some students need that visual presentation. Some advisors may need that as well. Maybe it's easier as an advisor for you to have that presentation as well. And so we have that option. Okay, well, getting close to the end of this podcast episode in this series, a lot of advisors are starting to get back from summer break. They've hopefully enjoyed and gotten some rest during their summer break as well. And Lucy, what kind of maybe a few pieces of advice would you give to those advisors as they're coming back from summer break? Maybe they've already started to prepare for yearbook, but what would you tell them? What would you like to hear as well if you were going back into the classroom?
Well, I actually thought about that, and I didn't do this, and I really wish I had. I think that it would have been really nice in the first couple of weeks to go as a class to an event altogether, and prepared beforehand to know who was going to do what at the event, but to completely cover it with photography and note-taking, and then unpack it in the classroom the next day or two, and figure out how to present that within a 2-page spread. So I think that might have been a really nice teaching device to do that all together as a class. And I think that would be fun to do together. I would probably stand by the concession stand and buy everybody something. So that would be fun.
Yeah, that's a really good teachable moment, actually. And maybe some advisors out there have done that. Maybe a majority of them haven't done that, haven't even thought about that. And that's a really good idea. Sarah, do you have any tip that you would give to advisors as they go back to school?
Yes, definitely. Make sure to visit our website, especially our resource page, because in the next few we will be adding new product, especially a curriculum presentation to our resource page. Just a reminder for all the school who sign with us, get to use the material for free. And now, as of this year, for those schools who are not signed with that, that's okay. They can still use curriculum. They're available for purchase on our website.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And I think maybe just one final tip for new advisors specifically. Do you have one, Lucy? I know we've talked in a few of our podcasts directly to the new advisors, and I just think that maybe they need another little ounce of reassurance as they go into something that's completely unknown to them.
When you feel like no is your answer, breathe through that and try to reach for yes. Because no is easy for all of us. Yes is harder. And try really hard to figure out a way for yes to work.
And I have one more tips to add. For those schools who are still contemplating to sign with us, make sure you sign up on newsletter and read or watch all the free material that are available to all our yearbook community around the world. For teacher who have been assigned a new role as a new advisor for the first time, with all the resources available from us, we know that you've got this and you can do it, even though it may be the first time, the first year of you being a yearbook advisor.
Yes, exactly. And like I said at the beginning, and we mentioned a few times, I'll link everything down below. Do not hesitate to reach out with any questions that you may have. Don't hesitate, to contact us through our website, or like I said, through the question box below. Anything you need as you start your back to school journey, which is a very exciting and hectic time, we're happy to assist you. Like I said before, you got this, and we're just so happy to partner with all of you. And we'll see you again when we come back with our next series. So have a great day, everyone. And thank you so much, Lucy, for being a guest star for the past 4 weeks. And thank you, Sarah, as always, for joining as my co-host. And have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.